The third book I would like to discuss is titled The Assassin's Gallery. It's written by David Robbins. And it's the book from where I got an idea for my first master's thesis, which I wrote about treatment of spies in the law of armed conflict. Yes, I know. Nowadays, talking about laws pertaining to acts of war might sound humorous or redundant. But back in 2007 and 2008, they were on my mind. Well, they still are. Now, The Assassin's Gallery is one of those books which I also picked up at the now infamous, at least in these videos, Helsinki Academic Bookstore. I was attracted by the title and the short description. It's a book set in the post-Second World War Scotland and US. It focuses on Dr. Michal Lamek, a historian from St. Andrews University, professor of history, whose specialty is assassination. He studies both assassins and their methods. And in this book, he is contracted by Secret Service to stop an assassination of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the President of the United States. Now, during the book, we find out a lot about history and assassins and assassinations, and the main villain is tied to the legendary Hashashin sect, to the man on the mountain, and the legendary lore surrounding the infamous assassins. And also we find out about creation of special operations forces and how the military planned assassinations or targeted killings, as they're sometimes called nowadays, as means and method of warfare, even though under the Hague laws of combat, assassination as a means and method of warfare is prohibited. Now, in addition to getting title, or not really a title, an idea for my thesis, because I was struggling with thinking what to write about, and espionage has always attracted me. I once even attempted to write a thesis on the concept of espionage and international law, but then burned out, and who knows. I hope I will be able to keep my promise to my grandfather and finish the darn thing one day. But we will live to fight another day and see what's going to happen. Now, this book attracted me for the question Professor Lamek asks of his students at St. Andrews. He basically turns to them and asks whether or not a single event, or a single man or a woman, a person, can affect history, or is it just an inevitable causal link between different events? And then he proceeds to tell his students about his specialty, about assassinations, and bringing examples of how they have led to certain singular or not so singular event. And in my head, the reason why the Hague rules prohibit political assassination is, among other things, attempt to prevent cataclysmic, non-predictable events from occurring. Whether it be believed by people or not, what this book shows, in addition to a brilliant ending. At the end of the book, the assassin reveals who paid, and it's far from what you might think throughout the book. It's a very well written text, and it also inspired me that at least the book alleges that the author used to be an environmental lawyer. Maybe still is. So lawyers do write great texts out of the courtroom as well. Not just John Grisham, who's, I guess, the best known, but nowadays it's also, for example, Professor Simon Chesterman, whose books I'm yet to discover, the fictional ones. But if you ever come across the Assassin's Gallery, I advise you to think about it as a text within a text. Yes, sounds very Bulgakov and Master and Margarita, or Ian Caldwell and Dustin Thomason, The Rule of Four. It's a fantastic historical fiction. It's a brilliant page-turner, combining crime fiction, politics, history, wonderful descriptions of different places, including St. Andrews or Washington, D.C. But it's also a very interesting exercise in the history of ideas. At least that's how I've always viewed it ever since I read it. And this question comes back to me every now and then, not just in my own life, but in my own teaching. And I personally think that anybody who engages with history, especially those who teach history, should pay more attention to actions of people that at the first glance seem less trivial. Because before we heard or thought about the butterfly effect, there were acts, mundane acts of kindness that influence history, or even worse, mundane acts of violence that led to insurmountable obstacles for the society on its way to advancement. So, if ever in a library or in a bookstore, see if there is a copy of The Assassin's Gallery by David Robbins, and let me think what you think about it.